Hi Flosstube, it's Heather Miller here. Welcome to my channel about cross stitch. My name is the Mirror Image Stitcher here on YouTube and also on Instagram. And I want to welcome you to my channel. Welcome those that are new and anyone returning to watch. Thank you for coming over, stopping by and spending a little time with me today. Today is a different video. Cross stitch is my main love, but I also love to do quilting. And so I'd like to spend some time talking about what I have been doing in my quilting life. I've only done one other quilting video, and it was back in June of 2024. I am not a fast quilter, and so I have a few things to do today, but that's about as long as it takes me to kind of get enough projects around worthwhile to chit-chat about. So today is July 15th, 2025, and I am here in this room. I wanted to have a place where I could kind of pin up my my quilts and be able to talk about them a little bit easier because I'm doing this on my own. There will be stopping and starting to each project basically because I'm going to take a moment to set it up so that I could then talk about it. I do have some notes on a paper that I might be referring to. And yeah, so let's get started. My first project that I'd like to talk about involves quilting and cross stitch. This portion of the cross stitch is one of my oldest whips that I had finished the stitching greater than 25 years ago, but never did anything with it. It is from For the Love of Cross Stitch magazine. March of 2000. This is what it looked like in the picture. And this is what I finally got around to doing something about. I am so glad that this turned out this way. I am going to just take it off here now and just give you a little bit more of a close-up. So this is the stitching. I have no idea what thread that I used. Obviously some type of variegated, and I am pretty sure it was some type of DMC because that's about all I had access to back in the day. This is on Lugana. I would assume back it was called a mushroom Lugana. I must have bought a yard of this way back when, and I only have like bookmark size pieces of this now. I put it into a wall hanging. The idea for the wall hanging sort of evolved. I went online to look up how to draw knots in wood, and then I kind of sketched them out, and I was able to do that in the quilting. And then I just kind of did a meandering on the side. This is a grunge fabric here, and I'm so happy to have this done. I can't even tell you, this has been a long time in the making. But you know, when you have a project that you're not sure what to do with, you know, like it took basically whatever 25 years of just simmering on the back burner till it's like, yeah, this is what I want to be in life. And so in a way, sometimes some of our projects are like that. And I know they can be a bit weighty, but because they're not finished and they can, you know, sort of play on your mind. But I'm sure glad I waited till I knew what this was to become. Now, one of the things I want to also show you is when you're doing an art quilt like this and you don't want to have typical binding around a quilt like this, And I've talked about this before because I've done this before, but you can do what they call a facing. And so that's what this is here. So I'm facing the quilt to finish off the raw edge. And in this method, I was able to put in these corners to be able to put in a little doweling to hold it up rather than sewing on a sleeve to hang the quilt. So that's what it looks like on the back. Yeah, I am sorry, I'm going out of frame. I have been storing this in this tube. It's a Charles Craft tube. It's not the fabric that it came in, but I can't even tell you how happy after like 35 years, or not 35 years, but 25 years, I'm ready to throw this tube away. So thank goodness I'm finally done this project. So exciting. This is a wall hanging that I have completed. I vaguely feel like I have shown you the quilted part before, saying that I had to get it bound, put on the binding, and then put a hanging sleeve on it. This was part of an idea that I had to do sort of those idea of front porch quilts, where I had my husband put a rod up on our railing, and then if I was home during the day, I would hang a quilt out there. Now, we live out in the country, so it's not like I have like a street where people are driving by and could see the quilt. This one got left out for a day or so because I forgot I put it out there. And so I have decided, I don't know if that's the greatest idea to do that. So I've washed it, and I think I'm keeping it on the inside. This quilt was these stars I'd actually bought at a garage sale. So I had all these stars were quilt blocks, and all I did was sew them together. I put a border on it and finished it off. The only thing that I did was there was one that was right here, and it was it had a piece of material in the middle that I did not like, and so I actually picked it apart, put in a different center, and then remade the block. And so I am happy to display this at Christmas time. Now there's another quilt that I have hanging, and it's my patriotic wonky log cabin block, and I'm gonna put in some pictures of it here. It is hanging up, so I chose not to take it down for this video, but it's a patriotic, US patriotic quilt. I really like the colors of the US flag, the red, white, and blue. And so I like working with that. And so I made this quilt. It was a ruler by Eleanor Burns, and it was one of the very beginning type of rulers. It was quite a thin plastic, and so it was a little bit difficult to work with because it was very kind of flimsy, but it worked very well. It helped me to square each block as I put the fabrics, sewed the fabrics on like you do for a log cabin. And I have it hanging up right now. I have it hanging up at my front entrance beside a grandfather clock that's actually not working at the moment. So yeah, so that is my patriotic, and the fabric for this is branded by Sweetwater. My next project that I like to talk to you about goes back to my first video where I talked about some charity quilts that I would like to make and give to the hospital that I work at. I am a nurse at the hospital. I was able to get 4 quilts sort of sandwiched together, and I roped in some friends to help me tie the quilts. I had kind of set up an evening at the local hospital. I got permission to use a room, and I had quite a number of people that said they would kind of come help and lay them out and kind of pin them together, safety pin them together, like to get them so that we could start tying them, like kind of just baste the 3 layers together. And embarrassingly enough, not one single person showed up. So I had made food, and it was an embarrassing moment. However, I moved on, and I have 3 wonderful nurse friends that were willing to help me work on these quilts. So I'm going to show you a picture. My friend Linda was able to tie the first quilt. This is what it looks like here. I'm putting in a picture. And the quilt is, let me see where, the quilt is 39.5 inches wide by 57.5 inches long. I wanted it to just be enough to cover over a person, maybe their feet. Not everybody wants to be covered all the way to the top, and that they wouldn't interfere in the side rails of the bed. This quilt has been gifted to the hospital and is in use there. I was worried about the batting. I had gotten a polyester fluffy batting, roll of batting, and as I'm laying it out to cut it to, for the size of each quilt, it was tearing easily. I was very worried about it. So I washed that one in the hottest water I could get and the hottest on my dryer, and it came out exactly the same, and I was never more thankful. So it held up very well it will hold up well to industrial washing at the hospital and so on. Now, I have the 2 of the other ones farmed out to friends that are tying it. And then this is one that I'm going to be tying. And I'm going to be taking it to my local quilt guild so I can lay it out on a table, stretch out the back, and then just pin baste it together. Just so I don't have to be on the floor type of thing. Yeah. So this is sideways, but this is kind of what it looks like. I've got it at this stage where I've got the backing, I've got the batting in the middle, and then the top is just layered on, and I gotta take it so I can baste it. Pin the 3 layers together so they stay together, don't shift, and don't get puckers or stuff on the back while you're tie quilting it. So I'm just taking pieces of pearl cotton, and there's a way to put them through the material, tie a granny knot, and they're very stable and hold the 3 layers together. I've got this up here to show you because this is basically sort of what, as I go through my stash, these are sort of the things I'm looking for. Panels that I like, that I've picked up at a garage sale for like $1 or $2. They're sort of narrow. I might add a border or something like that. Something on the bottom, the top, that kind of thing, just to make it a bit longer, tiny bit wider, because these are only about, I think this one's maybe probably 30 inches or something like that, I'm guessing. But yeah, so these are sort of the things that I am working on to do these types of quilts with, and that's kind of what I have them for. So that's why I thought, now this is one of my favorites. It will be hard pressed to give this one away because these are like my colors, my aesthetic. It's very dated. It's probably from does it even have a date? It says Happy Hollow by Sandy Gervais. It doesn't have a date. Moda Fabrics. But these are definitely my colors, stuff that I would have loved back in the 90s and 2000s to have my home decorated with, but just didn't have the time or resources to make quilts like this at that time. My next project that I like to talk about is the winter quilt that I would like to make for myself for our bed for wintertime. It comes from this book. It's a Kansas Troubles, which is an older designer. Very country fabrics, similar to like back in the day there was called a fabric line called Thimbleberries, but very similar style. And this is what I want to make. It's called the 5 and Dime quilt. And it uses pre-cuts in that it takes advantage of the, what do you call it? The pinked edges of pre-cuts. So it uses layer cakes, which is a 10-inch square, and it uses charm packs, which is a 5-inch square. Those are, when you buy a layer cake, you get one or two pieces of fabric of every fabric in that line of fabric. I have chosen to actually pick 4 different lines of fabric. So I literally have 2 different layer cakes and 2 different charms packs, from one from each of her 4 lines of fabric, and she has way more. I think at one time, which is probably 7 or 8 years ago already, she had celebrated her 20th anniversary for designing designing fabrics. She'd come out with a line of fabrics which were the most popular, the most favorite out of all of her fabrics. And I actually bought a 1/2 meter bundle of every one of those fabrics. So I'm very excited to use those at one point. I've got something going with those, and I'd like to show you that someday, but this is what I'm doing. So you sort of start out with your layer cake, your 10-inch square, and a 5-inch square, and you're sewing around way close to the edge of it. And then you use this ruler. It's called a 5 and dime ruler that goes along with the, I don't know. No, that's not going to make it worse. But it's a ruler that you use to make the block. And then there's a way to sew them all together, obviously. So here is my stack of fabrics. I kind of have them all laid out. Some of them I've sewn already, and some of them are just pinned and ready to go. They're all in layers. Actually, I have no idea why I have them in these layers now. This was way back last fall, so I'm actually not sure why I have them in this. But anyway, that's the way they are. I don't remember if I laid them all out, and then that's how I decided how they were going to go in this. So I'm going to try to be very careful to keep them in this order till I remind myself. I am using Aurifil thread. For some of them, I'm using this navy. It is a 40 weight, and I know that because the ends are green. They're color coded for Aurifil, and it because you're top stitching, it just gives a little bit more definition to that stitch, and just kind of is just a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. So I'm using that, and thinking of notes to yourself to remember. I was smart enough to remind myself that when I go back to this, these are some notes for the settings on my machine, that I have to have my needle 2 spaces to the left, what stitch length I'm using. So because there's been a long gap, like greater than 6 months since I've worked on this, that I would remember how to set my machine up to go back to sewing this. And I do recommend that you do things like that. Even if you think, oh, I'm going to keep going, write it down anyway. And if you do have a large gap in time, you'll kind of remember what to do about that. These are the lines. I kept some of the things. So I'm using Thistle Farm, obviously, is one of the charm packs. And all her lines, she has so many lines of fabric, but they all coordinate. So it's really great. I'm using Bees and Blooms, and I'm using for the layer cake is I'm using, sorry about that, Prairie Cactus, And I am using On Meadowlark Pond are the 4 lines of fabric that I'm using. So I'm anxious to get back to that and get some more work done on that. And it's going to be a king size quilt. So back last October, the 29th of October 2024, I put in a picture on Instagram. I posted a picture on Instagram, and I had laid out on the floor roughly 24 projects that I kind of wanted to get done before the end of the year. I kind of gave myself, a few months to do it or whatever. And of course now is, this, 7, 8, 10 months later, and I'm looking back to see what those projects were laid out and what I haven't got done. So I had about, I've got listed here about 6, 7 projects. Every time I did the numbers, they never seem to add up. It's like, how many projects are actually represented in the picture? How many were cross stitch? How many are quilting? How many of the cross stitch did I get done? How many of these? And I finally gave up. I couldn't make all the numbers match. But anyway, I have 7 projects here from that picture that I would like to talk about that we're not able to get done, but they are so close to getting done. And so I'd like to talk about that next. My next project that I have been working on is a chenilled quilt. So my guild had done a challenge to do some projects with to chenille them, and how that technique is and how to do it and so on. Now I had seen this idea before, and so I kind of wanted to use what I had to complete this project. The idea is you have to have several, like with a panel, you have to have several layers of it in order to do this technique. So I happen to have 7 of these panels. You can't see that end of it, but I have sewn 3 of them together. And then what I did was I took certain images out of those panels and I cut out those panels. So for example, like this one, I layered the bottom layer, which is the first panel, and then I took the 4 layers. I cut that square out and I took those 4 layers using pins and so on. I lined them up perfectly and I put them on here, and I sewed half-inch lines all the way across the whole block. I'll take some closer up pictures of some of the blocks so you can see what I've done. And then using this tool, it's a special tool, a chenille tool, to cut through the 4 layers, but not the bottom layer. And because it's on the bias, this will fray like chenille does. But the layered effect and the fact that I've lined them up, I hope properly, you should be able to see that image coming through that. So I've picked several spots to do this with. We've got like sort of this one. This one isn't done. You probably can't see from there, but I've got pins there to hold it in place, and I have that yet to do. This is chenilled at the top, and so on. Each one has something a little bit different to do. So I am in the process of doing that. Before I put the layers on. I had made the quilt top, like put the 3 panels together, put some borders around it, took it to my long arm quilting lady, and she basted the whole thing together for me so that everything won't shift. The 3 layers are basted together. So then as I was layering these on and sewing them, I would pull out the basting stitches of that area, and so that I could sew that. I kind of made a list for myself of kind of how many squares left I have to do, and then things like I need to quilt like these borders, and I've sewn all the way around each of these panels and so on. So I've kind of picked up, I think, about 14, 15 steps that I need to do. And I find that, number one, if you have a dedicated sewing space, you're going to do so much more. Now, that sewing space does not have to be fancy. It can be a card table in the middle of your living room where you put an old sheet over it so nobody can see it, the kids can't touch anything, and it's just there. I am lucky enough to have a spare bedroom downstairs that I use. But when I first started that, when I set something up like that, I was in an unfinished basement, which exactly that. I had a play area for the kids on one side, and I had my sewing stuff on the other side. And that's what I do, is I just put an old sheet over top of it, and I could just take that sheet off, and I could sew for 10 minutes or I could sew for 10 hours kind of thing. And I found that by doing that, that really helped me out a lot. If I had 10 minutes, or I would make a goal. Like I would say, okay, I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to make 1 block, and I started this with a quilt that I was making for my mom. It was a 9-patch, and I went downstairs because I wasn't getting anywhere with the quilt. This quilt, I think, is like, I'm not even kidding, it's probably 4 years old. With my mom's, it had been months. I think I'm going to just say and guess that there were like 36 blocks. I only had done like 12 of the blocks, and then I got to come up with something. And that's what I did. It took me like 9 minutes to make 1 block. I would go downstairs, make 1 block, shut everything off, come back upstairs. And I do that every day. And I think in like 23 days, I had everything I needed to do. And so then I kind of like, okay, I'm going to sew this 1 row together. And then the next day, sew another row, and so on. And so I found like that really seems to, it's kind of like how do you eat an elephant 1 bite at a time. That's what I'm trying to do with this. And this is where I'm at starting tomorrow. I have my grandson today, so tomorrow I'm gonna like sew 1 of these. Like for example, I have to chenille this, so I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm gonna chenille this 1 block, walk away, and try to do that on any day that I can. And you'd be amazed, before you know it, you've got the different spots of this quilt done, and then I can bind it and get it going and on my spare bed. We have an archery event coming up, the August long weekend, and so I had wanted to get this done last year for that, to put on my spare bed, because we have company for that weekend, and so I really want to get this done. And I'm very excited to get it in the wash and dry it and see if my vision of what's going to happen to these blocks are actually going to come true. I really hope they do. Regardless, it's going to be a warm quilt on my bed, whether it actually works out or not. I'm hoping that it does. And I look forward to being able to show you and see some pictures, or show you how the quilt turned out. My next project is something that someone had given to me. So my long arm quilter, Cheryl, had some fabric that she didn't want anymore. And I was very grateful to be the receiver of that fabric. She said she had always wanted to make a table topper out of it, and some placemats. So basically, this is a panel. This whole thing is a panel. All I did was go down to the local quilt store, which unfortunately has closed now. But I bought backing to go on it. I actually, without her knowing, I've taken it back to her. She's quilted it for me. And this is the binding. This is what the fabric looks like. This will be the binding. And I'm really hoping to be able to give it back to her as a gift to say thank you. If she doesn't want it, I'll keep it, but I am going to gift it back to her for all the things she does for our quilt guild. And just me personally, she has, you know, given me scraps and all kinds of things. And so I just would like to have done this for her and give it back to her. I'm going to stop the video so I can show you the placemats that I'm planning to sew. So along with the panel that she gave me several other coordinating pieces of fabric that went along with this line of fabric. She had gotten these fabrics from I can't even think. Like a distributor. I don't know if you've ever, at your quilt guild, you've gone to maybe a night where their fabric distributor puts on a talk about fabrics. It could be a number of different fabrics, and then they'll often give out fabric samples to the people that have come out for the presentation. And that's exactly what these were. So they were different. So this is an example. They often have like a pinked edge. They are all different sizes. Some have rectangles. They're usually, maybe one is maybe the size of a fat quarter, but usually not. And they're just like several different odd sizes of the lines of that fabric. Just a sampling of each of the lines of that fabric. And so she had passed these on to me. So what I thought I would do was make some quilt as you go placemats with them. So what I did was I just took I wanted to make 6 placemats. So I took each fabric and I figured out how I could use all the fabric by cutting into 6. So what would that size be? And then I would cut that into it. So I have different size of strips. I have this fabric, which is the front of that. I have this one, this one, this one, and then this one. And I do have leftover fabric of the backing of this, that if I need to use that or not. And then these are the placemats that I bought. They are a bit stiffer than I thought they were going to be. And they also have rounded corners, which I'm going to have to learn how to do actual bias binding, whether I make it or I just buy it. I'm not actually sure at this point, but that's what I'm going to use. Now, the quilt as you go method is you start on one end and you sew them on and sew and flip them over, sew them on. What I'd like to do is I would like to fiddle around with my machine. I have some metallic thread, specifically some gold metallic thread, and I would like to kind of top stitch and use some of my specialty stitches that come on that are programmed into my machine. And I would like to do that. And that's kind of where the holdup is I need to, make some scrap parts. I need to kind of practice them, see how they work, practice them out, and then do them. And of course, that sort of fiddling is what's stalling me on this project, unfortunately. But sometimes that's the way that goes, isn't it? You have one part that you actually have to learn something in order to finish it. And so then sometimes that can be hard to get yourself going and get learning that particular skill on how to set your machine up to do that stitch, practice it, and then go ahead and do it on the real thing. And so sometimes that's what stalls us out on some of these projects. I just wanted to add one other thing, and that was like, for example, this only needs binding, but because I need to learn a skill that will help me with the placemats, it's kind of stalled out this project. And something my mom would always say always comes to mind and makes me feel guilty about this. And the saying is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so I need to get this done because I have a good intention for this, but it doesn't really count if I don't get it done and give it to her. My next project is a foundation paper piecing project. I love foundation paper piecing. I don't get enough time to do it as much as I would like to do it, but I do love paper piecing. That's one of my favorite types of quilting to do. This project has been done, I don't know, 8 years or something like that. I don't know. I don't really know. This is the pattern. It's by Amy Ellis, and it's called Majestic Mountain Mini. It was really easy to do. It, is just your basic foundation paper piecing. The trouble that I had was being able to control this one fabric. If I take it off of here. Now, that fabric, that gray, is a directional print. And at the time, I did not know how to control and put in fabrics that were directional so they were the direction that I wanted them to go. I have since learned that. And one person that I can suggest highly is her name, I don't remember what her first name is, but the Cranky Kangaroo. She does a lot of foundation paper piecing, and she has like 20 tutorials about how to do foundation paper piecing right from the very beginning and moving forward, and just adding little increments of difficulty with each one. And she has several of those videos in the middle that deal with directional fabrics. So I highly recommend, hoping I put the name of her website here, because they're free tutorials that you can watch on her Instagram and or on her website. Fantastic information. And so wonderful that she has offered that knowledge to others. The main thing that has stalled me out on this project, of course, is the quilting of this piece. I have, studied the original mini quilt made by Amy, and was hoping to sort of mimic her quilting of this. But I find that process it takes a lot of creativity for myself. Others maybe they just like to jump off the cliff and they just go wherever they go. And I wish I could be that kind of person. But I do find that it's actually almost a bit paralyzing to get going, to actually get something, to get that going, just like that cross wall hanging. And finally, I had come home from an event like a week and a half ago or something, and I'm like, okay, Heather, that is enough. Just get downstairs, put the needle down in this fabric, and just start sewing. It's not going to be the end of the world if it doesn't come out the way you want. And so I just did it, and I'm so glad I did. It did work out well, and I do have an idea of how I want to do this. And so I just need to do the exact same thing. I want to work on the chenille quilt and get that done. And then this is my very next project, to get it finished and get it quilted, because done is better than perfect. And that's where I need to be on this. So I'm very excited to get this into the same spare bedroom. It's kind of a mountain, sort of like wilderness theme in that room, and this would look really nice on the wall. And so I'm looking forward to it. This is not the fabrics that are called for in the pattern. These are just some fabrics that I picked myself, various art gallery fabrics, and they're a very old line of fabric. So that's that piece. And I have all the threads sitting here waiting to go. I have my bobbin, everything. I have absolutely no excuse for not working on this. So that's going to get done. Hi, everyone. I am filming the ending to my video the next day. In doing all my editing, I noticed a couple of things. Number one, the video was going to be really long. I don't know how I thought I could put like a whole year's worth of quilting projects into one video, but it's going to be way too long. So I'm going to split this video into 2 parts. The second thing is because some of the filming footage did not turn out. One part I was stopping and starting so often, one part I didn't even video. So I have to redo a couple of parts. So I'm going to do that next week. I want to just shorten up this video and get it processing and posted to YouTube. And then I can finish off the second part next week. So I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my video and spending some time with me and letting me share my quilting life with you and all the reasons why my projects are near and dear to my heart. So as I say to my friends and my family, my kids, when they leave, see you, love you, bye.